Hello, Manognyas. We are really, really excited to see you after a break of almost a year. I hope you're all doing great, and we all hope you're all doing great. And we're also excited to see each other, although we've done a lot of work in the background. If you're wondering where we have been, what we have been doing, we've been doing a lot of soul searching over the past several months because, as you're going to see today, it's all about change and transformation. Change is inevitable, and along with the changing times, it's inevitable that we transform who we are so we can be more relevant to you, more useful to you in terms of who we are. So, on that note, I would like to introduce ourselves quickly for the benefit of those who haven't watched us before or those who have forgotten us because it's been a year. Uh, we've got Srinivasan, who's an amazing person, as you'll figure out in the times to come. I'll let them introduce themselves and just give out the names. We've got Suresh, and you've got me, Ramanujan. So we are all in our own rights, the founders of Manognya, and we are excited to continue this journey. And for the first timers, welcome to viewing us. So on that note, Suresh, I think we are all looking quite different from what we were when we had our last recording a year ago. So why don't we get started with you, where you can take us forward on how things have been and if there is something you want to tell us. Over to you, Suresh.
I Thanks again. We are so excited to be back first, and it's been a long time. Do not want to repeat what Ram has already said about what we have done and what we've been doing in the background, right? So probably you've been figuring out we have not been posting for quite some time. We are back again with the bang. And it's quite important times as well. Like we are going to pick up some interesting discussion, like a free flow discussion about transformation. So I was just thinking about why don't we start with a Kuti story? Yeah? So we will probably try to understand and transformation from a different perspective. We want to set the stage first. So I want to share that Kuti story for you guys. Probably hear me for next 2-3 minutes. It's a very small story. Okay, it's a quite interesting story. I was reading through a blog, and this story was hitting me. It is very simple, nice story, but then an interesting, thought-provoking story as well. We will be picking up while we are having that conversation today. So let me start. A small village where there's a farmer and he has one son and a horse. One day, the farmer was busy in his farming activities. The horse that he was having for a very long years suddenly, left him. The villagers came around and say, "What a bad luck! Suddenly your horse has left you, and what a bad luck for you." He said, "Maybe, maybe not." Very old farmer, so with this stumble tone, he said, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, surprisingly, this horse came along with three more horses. The farmer again, stayed calm, not too excited, but he was happy. But then with the content, okay, the villagers surrounded him again. What a lucky person you are! With one horse, you got three horses now, because horse is actually important for farmers because they do a lot of work, and it's like three. It's like a bonanza for a farmer. Everybody thought it was lucky for him. But then the farmer said, maybe, maybe not. So the next day, the following day, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses. So he just went and then rode up on the horse, and then suddenly the horse, became wild and he fell down, broke his leg. He fractured his leg. And again, the same villagers came around and said, "What an unfortunate thing for you. What a bad luck these three horses have brought." Again, the farmer kept himself very calm and content and said, maybe, maybe not. So again, the following day, now this has happened. The soldiers have gathered across the villages to bring the youngsters from the village to fight a war they are actually fighting for. So they came to this farmer's house and they found the boy has already broken his leg. So he's not fit for the war. So now, after the soldiers left, the villagers again came and said, "What a lucky person are you?" Again, the farmer said, "Maybe, maybe not." So the story continues, but then uh, what we can understand from the story, right? So observe how the farmer saw the situation, how the villagers, uh, you know, uh, shared their views and feedback. But the farmer did not get bothered about what others were saying. Transformation is exactly like this. People will jump in to conclude this is bad, this is bad, this is good. They label the events, but then if you ignore the labels and then you continue with what you know and what the limitation that we have, and still be focused on what we are doing, be present in the now, and continue our journey, nobody is going to disturb us, and we'll be strong and mentally fit into the transformation. So, with that Kuti story, I just want to open this conversation. We've been gone through a lot of transformation ourselves, Ram, Sriji, and myself, and Manognya also. So maybe we will start off with the conversation of transformation from inspiring from the story. So I'll open the floor. Anybody wants to pick up?
Yeah, yeah, I can go.
Ram,
I think
uh,
two things I really want to point out. It's a beautiful story, right? A simple story. I think what really appealed to me is the way you beautifully said they labeled it. Sometimes we get caught up and we cannot find a difference between something that's a label and something that is a meaning that we assign to things. A meaning is more enduring. A meaning gives us a sense of purpose, but a label is just a label. It's a way in which we identify with something and associate with something. So thank you so much for calling that out. And the real other good thing I saw, which I think will kind of lead us beautifully into what Sriji wants to talk to us about next is sometimes we are caught up in all these short-term frenzies, right? Oh, today something happened, something short-term happened. Could be at home, it could be at work, anywhere, right? And then we think, oh, this is really bad. It's end of the world, right? But nothing really goes that bad. And that's something I really the maybe not says, yeah, something happened today. In the short term, it looks good or it looks bad. But that doesn't mean it doesn't pay dividends in the long term or it's going to be enduringly pleasurable in the long term. Right. So on that note, I think a lot of literature, a lot of the things that we talk about what is the way for enduring joy. And the one thing all these theories debunk is that seeking pleasure, seeking short-term pleasure, is never going to put us on the gates to joy or the gates to a contented life. You mentioned contentment. I think it's a really wonderful start for us. So on that note, I mean, there was a reason why I said we need to take this to Sriji because he's going to talk to us about some personal journey which where there is something enduring, something lasting, right? And on that note, Sriji, over to you. You talk to us, and then we'll keep interrupting you when we have questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. In fact, that's a very wonderful story, Sureshji. And once again, it's just now that I'm starting to speak again, hi to all Manognyas from our side. Like Ram had very kindly introduced, it's been close to a year. And in fact, I will say that it is not alone us who are doing a soul search. Government of India itself, in its own capacity, did a soul search. And from the last time we spoke and to this time when we are speaking, there are some changes in terms of what the policymakers have decided for. And I am sure they have done it in the appropriate time for our country as a citizen. I am very happy to realize that as a country, we are moving forward and realizing how much of professionalism and headcount in terms of number of professionals are needed to serve this country in terms of mental wellness and mental well-being. Being aware about the necessity is one thing, taking actions towards realizing that awareness is another thing. And as a country, it's rejoiceful for us that our government is taking us forward, our policymakers, thanks to them, whoever they are, to have taken this in a very great step. And in that way, yes, it is not alone Manognyas and us who are speaking about transformation. Government landscape towards this whole subject itself is undergoing a very drastic transformation as we speak, and the years to come are going to be very bright. On that note, Manognyas, from the last video to this video, I hope many of you are able to find difference in the way I look. Of course, below my eyes, above the eyes, I know it's quite obvious for you to see. But below that also, I'm happy to share with you that over this last 1 year, starting from November 2024 to as we speak on April 2026, fag end of April 2026, I was able to shed close to 32 kgs of weight. So I don't want to, openly share the percentage that it was in terms of loss. That will make my old weight easily calculatable. That's not something that I'm very. I still feel shy about revisiting that number. But any which ways, I feel I am very happy and humble to share this transformation news with all of you. And I just thought that it's very relevant to what Suresh ji had told. In fact, I will nitpick, I will say rather, one important lesson that came to me as I heard Sureshji. Forget about the farmer being constant, not being greatly mulled by the opinion of others. There is one important lesson that we need to take from his story as far as transformation is concerned. The horse that went out on the first day came with three other horses on the second day. And someone who tamed the horse will have to definitely know that horses take time to be tamed. So forget about riding the horse. Of course, I have never, I don't rear any horse or any other cattle in my home, but all these are only hearsay. But of the novels and other books that I read, first of all, the animals should be touched first. They should allow you to touch it. They should allow you to feed it. And next comes using them for domestic rearing, whether it's going to be riding over them or using them to carry goods or milking them, whatever it is. Can't do it the first day. What apparently came out very well in the story is the farmer's son, on the second day of the wild horse's arrival, went it ticket for a ride. Eventually, horse took the rider for a ride and he had fractures. So, guys, important lesson. First thing in transformation is nothing will happen overnight. Literally, nothing is going to happen overnight. And transformation is not like Ram had very beautifully insisted. Transformation is not about external appearance changing. External appearance changing is perhaps the last result of transformation. It is like once the transformation starts showing itself outside. Much more important as far as transformation is concerned is what is the internal outlook? What do we see about ourselves? That is the that I believe after the end of, after coming to a very good distance in the journey, of course, I still have a long way to go and where I want to reach as far as my physical transformation is concerned. But up to wherever I have come from the beginning, that is an important lesson that I learned about myself. All of you know any dieting schedule will involve cutting off the whites, as people usually call cutting off sugar, cutting off rice, cutting off, limiting at least the salt that you eat, cutting off oils, fried items, all those. In fact, in the last 1.5 years, I have cut sugar, jaggery, honey, and just having fruits and naturally occurring sweets. Of course, dietitians, it's a debatable topic. I'm not going into the details of that aspect. Of course, I'm not here to give a nutrition advice to anyone. But how this journey started was very important because before I started this journey, I always wanted to do it for close to a decade. It was almost 2015 when I realized that I should start it. And by the time I started it, 2000, it was 2025 November. Let me be very candid and honest about this. Because until I started, I was not patient with myself. So 1 week I will diet, then I will go and look at my weight. Will change, will not change. I was not ready to. In fact, let me put it this way. Earlier, I used to have milk. My friends used to call me as Pal Srinivasan. Pal means milk in Tamil. I avoided coffee and tea for a long part of my life, so I was called as Pal Srinivasan. And my standards for having milk was this: milk should be hot, enough sugar should be mixed in milk such that the steam carries the essence of sugar. The vapor carries the essence of sugar. So for someone who was having milk like this to completely cut sugar was beyond, beyond even imagination, I will
So,
tell you.
sugar was not going in only through your mouth and tongue. It was also going in through you are inhaling sugar as well. Mm.
So you imagine the kind of sugar I added to milk, sir. It in no means a joke. But what had happened was this transformation in its own way was triggered by a challenging event in my life. So I am basically by profession a tire engineer. For me, the interaction between rubber and road is something that is very close to my heart. I love my job in that aspect. And I take lectures also to others. And ever since I learned the subject of vehicle dynamics, I have always been careful with my vehicle, with the way I ride my vehicle and all those things. But unfortunately, in September 2022 or October 2022, I met with a bike accident. And when I was taken for a scan, unfortunately, I couldn't adjust my leg and enter into the scanning machine and come outside properly. And it required three people to lift me and make me stand straight after I fell down. Even though I was conscious, it wasn't a terrible accident or something. It was an accident where I knew I was falling. My brain was alert. I wanted to get up by myself, but thanks to people around, they helped me out. That time I realized that forget about everything. If I'm not able to carry myself well, I'm not speaking about dressing and all those things. I'm telling basic physical carrying. If I'm not able to enter into a scan machine, what am I doing to my body? It's an abuse. At that time, I realized that let me wait for my knees to get all right. I had some injury on my knee, not very critical, but something that will stop me doing exercise for the next few months, at least to that extent. I was waiting for it to get all right. And then I started this journey. And when I started this journey, I wasn't sure at all. So, gyms, in Chennai, they have these packages for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So the guy said, if you are opting for 12 months, it will come at a much cheaper rate. In fact, 12 months package is actually just some 20 percentage more than the 6 months package. So it's an inviting package if you want to pay the money. But I wasn't sure when I started the journey. The first thing I told myself was, let me try for a month. So that guy said that you can start with 3 months or 6 months and eventually you can top up with additional payment of 500 rupees for a year. So I told myself, because my professional you know, path also requires me to travel a lot. So it's not about starting, it is about consistency. In fact, that which had stopped me from taking this for this long was the fear of not being consistent. It was not like I didn't realize the seriousness of losing weight before I fell. I knew that always I had to do it. But what was actually pulling me back was the fear whether I will be consistent or not. And the second important aspect was I had hinged a lot on seeing the results. And I will say that unintentionally, when I started this journey, the doubt itself sort of pulled me away from looking out for results. So when I started this time finally, I never was looking for how many kgs I'm going to lose in a month or in a week or in a couple of months or all this. I just told myself, let me first start this. Let me go to the gym. Let me finish a month. Then I will decide about whether I'm going to extend or not. That was the mindset with which I entered the gym. And thanks to the people there, when I entered the gym, I also downloaded apps which will count calories for whatever we eat. I went by the app. I never questioned it. I was not spending time on searching for the best app that is available in Google Play for me to install. I just wanted a start. I wanted to take a baby step. And that baby step, I will tell you, my friends, is 70% of the transformation easily. What followed was little steps that were incrementally adding to this. But the baby step was actually to start doing something rather than trying to do it perfectly. And this is a lesson that I am carrying it in other aspects of my everyday life also, where I would like to change it from where it is. Because let me admit to all of you, there is a deep sense of perfectionism even inside me.
Hmm.
When we want to do something, we want to do it to the last line, to the last limit, to the best extent that we know. But what sometimes we fail to realize, uh, if it is not the case for many of you, I am happy, but I am sure empathetically there can be a lot of people like me. So to you people, I would like to share that the best or the finest of form only comes at the end. It doesn't come in the very beginning itself to have the best of the gym, best of the coach, best of the app, best of the diet. Even today, I am not balancing my macronutrients. I don't have enough protein because my diet is not allowing it. That's a different story altogether. So if I'm going to look for the best and I'm going to start only after getting every best, probably I'm not going to start.
Can I
So
ask you
going
a
back,
question here? That's a beautiful point.
certainly,
You covered a few good points. I just don't want the audience to
please,
miss out some of the essence. Very
please.
inspirational story, right? And you started off by
Yeah,
saying
thank you.
this is a decade-long journey. So kudos to the
Yes,
persistence and sticking to the plan, and finally getting across the line and starting to do that. But
thank
and
you.
you also said every time I would look at my weight, I'll try something for a week and then I'll check my weight. And you was talking initially about the external internal factors as well. Obviously, uh, your weight, how you feel physically, etc. I think we can safely assume that they're all extrinsic or external indicators of how you essentially wanted to feel. They were metrics or they were numbers in some sense or form. And the event which triggered the need for you to change, of course, is a very touching story. It's very inspirational, and I hope all of us, who are listening to this, can start our journeys without having to go through that kind of a difficult challenge. But it definitely was not just about the need for somebody to carry you or your inability to carry yourself, as you very beautifully put it. What changed internally? So, is something must have shifted within you, something about your identity, something about something that you valued most, which you had probably subconsciously overlooked until that point. Did something change internally within you that said, now I'm no longer going to wait for the ocean to stop, the waves to stop before I get in for a bath, kind of a mentality, right? Did something fundamentally change within you, Shriji? I'm keen on knowing that.
Well, sir, I was, to be very candid on this particular question, what changed internally was I was actually tired of waiting for the right start. There was a desperation to start. I will put it that way. There was a desperation to start because I spoke out the idea of joining a gym to my family in 2014. And they were well meaning, but they said that once you start and once you stop the gym, you will bloat even further on. So there was a negative conundrum that was fixed to it, and advisors after advisors lose the weight the natural way. There were so many opinions going around, and I think so. I probably did the mistake of taking every other opinion seriously. And Suresh ji very beautifully brought this concept inside the story. It was an integral part of the story. The farmer never cared about what he heard from others. There was an internal conviction. I think so that mattered, sir. I was actually, yes, long story short, I was tired of waiting for the right occasion. I was tired of, getting discouraged from numbers. More than anything, I just stopped myself from giving to opinions that I heard, and I just wanted to do some action. I hope I reflected to the question that you had asked.
Oh, that's a beautiful point, really, right? Because the amount of noise we cut out from our lives. There's
It's
another
needed.
story that I have about that, but I think in the interest of time, we'll reserve it for another video. But I think what really captured us, and I think Suresh will also agree, is that the amount of noise, and a lot of this noise comes not because people think they are great or we are at fault. They really care. And sometimes we
Yes,
believe that and these are usually people who care about us, not those who don't care about us, right? So these are people who care. They
yes,
say, "Oh, don't go to the gym because once you stop, you're going to bloat again." There is this innate assumption that we will stop at some point. There is this innate
yes,
assumption that once a particular goal or a number is met, we will no longer contain or have the motivation or the drive to continue going to the gym. It's like an intervention, right? Unfortunately, we are all so used to this Western concept of need-based interventions to the point where it's like, okay, I'll stop taking a medicine after I recover. I'll stop going to the gym after I lose weight. That's we've kind of indoctrinated or conditioned to think like that, that everything we stop things from becoming a lifestyle. Everything is
yes,
intervention. Everything is just a need-based what do you call interruption or intervention or introduction in our life, and then it stops, right?
yes.
So it's a very beautiful thing. If there is one more thing that I can ask you, sorry, Suresh, I've been hogging
Please,
all the
please.
questions, but there's one more thing I can ask you on the back of this, right? Because you walked us through this journey so beautifully. And you kind of told us why you felt you had to know. I think that you've explained it very, very clearly as to what made you take the plunge. Don't look for perfectionism, look for progress. Right? What matters is starting, and then the journey will guide you along. I think you made it very, very beautiful. What is helping you to change? What is an intervention or something that you started with a purpose? What is making you sustain that? And you spoke about the need to take on macronutrient. I mean, I'm very very bad at that, right? So the macronutrient ratio and all of that. I'm sure you'll continue to go on this journey. What what is keeping you motivated? What is helping you sustain that, Shriji?
The journey itself.
Wow. Okay.
That is the beauty of work, I will say. In fact, I
Hmm.
would like to. Maybe this is not the exact conundrum of that verse of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, but still, karmanyevadikaraste. It is true, actually. Once we
Hmm.
start an action, we get accustomed to it, and the positivity that it brings in us
Hmm.
will ensure that we are tied to it. Today, let me be very honest. Attaching ourselves to the habits, I don't know. You both of you are professional psychologists. You can reflect on it better. Uh, I don't know how much of attachment to a particular way of doing things is healthy or not. But usually, such repeated practices are addictive. The least that I can say, Ram. I hope that's answering the question. The journey
Yes,
itself is what
oh yeah,
keeps
that's
me.
the journey itself is the reward, right? I think that's a wonderful way, paves the way for experiencing rather than,
Yes.
when you're going on a journey, it's like, you're driving to a hill station, you're driving to a destination. I went to one very recently. There are so many sights and scenes that are there to be taken in along the way. You have 20 different places where you can park your vehicle. But if you're hell-bent on going to that summit alone, to that peak alone, to have that one experience, you're going to miss the 19 other along the way. And then you're never really going to find the motivation to go on another drive because climbing the mountains is a painful process there. And whether we like it or not, it's a rigorous process, especially if you're driving and
True.
all of that, right? So that's such a very
True.
beautiful thing. Just the journey itself,
Journey.
that itself is a transformative thought process, right? It's not about
Yes.
goals, right? It's not about losing weight. It's not about this, and it's about just going on the journey to discover what comes along the way. It paves the way for experience. It paves the way for curiosity. You're constantly mindful of how your experience is, right? And that itself gives you a sense of joy, a sense of lasting joy, and a sense of purpose that this itself is worth pursuing. You don't have to have some
Yes.
utopian dream or a big number or some metric along the way. And that
Yes.
essentially, that nothing kills your joy, basically. If it doesn't add more, at least it doesn't kill the joy or kill the happiness that you experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
Fantastic.
In fact, there are certain things which are definitely result oriented. When we say ma paleshu kadachana, it is hard for us in other sense because we take up endeavors only to achieve results. Doesn't mean that we
Hmm.
should close our eyes to results. But results aren't everything. Results
Hmm.
are like we've been discussing and like I've been insisting. That's the last thing that we see on the process.
Hmm.
That's itself is not the thing. So just to add Ram to the point that I said that the journey itself is motivating, I would like to, shortly resume back and bring this again in the context of the story itself, in fact.
Hmm.
So when I started the gym, Ram, honestly, I was not looking for numbers, like I told, to stop, to continue from where I stopped. I was just looking to first hit the gym frequently. So for 1 week, I told myself, I will just share a very small, sweet note. So once my friend and we were discussing about Vadamalai. Vadamalai, for listeners, it is a garland made of vada that is offered to Lord Hanuman. So we both are foodies. So I just told this guy for one birthday, I would like to have a garland of samosa. Garland of samosa, mind it. And I am an adept foodie along with that guy. When I used to do PhD in IIT, when the night when my software doesn't converge, when my simulations don't converge, 2:30 early, I don't know if you call it night or morning or midnight, whatever it is in your terminology. 2:30 we used to go and hit the restaurant. There were 24 into 7 restaurants over there. We used to eat. Now I feel how much I have abused my body. Nothing short of smoking or drinking in terms of food. This is something very underrated, right? In terms of health, I'm not going to comment about personal preferences over here, but definitely I think so. It goes beyond the doubt for all of our listeners over here that smoking and drinking alcohol consumption is injurious to health. I don't think so anyone is going to argue about it. Let me be very, very candid about this learning that the journey had taught me. Unmindful eating is nothing short of an abuse like smoking or drinking. Let's be very aware. And in fact, I would like to use this platform to insist that let's also be mindful of this when we are hosting parties and functions like marriage or death ceremonies or any other occasion in our family. We just feed anything and everything that we think of. We are innovating on plate. I don't know for what. And poor people, they have to run 4 days to eat on one Indian marriages, if I'm not wrong. The kind of calories that we are feeding people with, it's so hard. In fact, nowadays in marriages, when I go and eat, I become like this umpire. No has to be told like this when they are serving on the leaf, and people will think, why is this guy always showing a four? Who is playing this over here? You know, unfortunately, that's the scenario today. So going back to the story, when I started the first week, I told myself, no samosas. And that sweet friend of mine, he eventually, the last birthday I celebrated with samosas was with him. He got me 13 samosas on a day. Let me also not be shy about the number. Eventually, I shared it with four of my friends, but remaining eight were for me. I was that kind of a hoodie and abuser of my health once upon a time. Okay. So that being said, first thing I told was no fried items, no samosas, no sweets, nothing. 1 week went on like this. I didn't look at my weight at the end of 1 week. Then I told myself, okay, right, we did it for 1 week. Why don't we do it for the second week also? And I was someone who never knew anything about the gym. I asked the trainer, I'll also do exercise on seventh day. He said, no, 6 days is the day you have to do exercise. Seventh day is a rest day for body to recover. Eighth day onwards, you'll continue. So the new motivated guy on me was like, why should I take that 1 day rest? I didn't realize that rest is an important aspect of the journey as the 6 days of workout. Every day sleeping is as important as that 1.5 hours or 2 hours that is spent on dream. This is something very important we should learn on our transformation. We should know to give ourselves enough gap so that the physique and the mind is ready to continue the journey. We shouldn't make the journey tire us. We
That's where
should,
the
in fact, derive
sustainability
joy
comes
from
in.
the journey.
Yeah.
Sustainability comes in. So the second week also I went, and trust me, guys, when it was 10th day or 11th day from the starting, I didn't wait for a month to get over to extend the subscription. I thought that the journey sort of gave me confidence that yes, now I have got into this. Let me extend this for a year. Let me not worry about the numbers. Even at the end of 2025 November, at the end of 1 year, even if it is only 10 kgs I have lost, I will still be in three digits. But I thought it's okay. Let me first do this regularly. And I had my travel plans also in between. So I told that I will monitor in terms of cup that I eat. Maybe not in grams at least, but 1 cup, half a cup. Let me measure what I eat. Let me try to get only boiled items or something. And slowly what I started, like I told, journey started guiding me. Slowly I started finding physical changes inside me. My eyes started looking brighter. I could smile without any tiredness. I travel 1 hour up and 1 hour down from work in my everyday life. My travel life is also not 1 hour 40 minutes is easily the time that I spend on roads. Chennai roads, right? Filled with traffic next to Bangalore and Hyderabad, Delhi. Chennai is very wonderful in that aspect, proud of my city. But still, the traveling tiredness and all those, I could find change in my physique. In fact, I could start breathing much better than before. Once I started shedding a lot of sweat, I could start breathing. After 3 weeks, I observed my weight. It was a very good transition. After a month, after 2 months, I observed it was a drop by 8 kgs. I wasn't tied to the number. I was just curious about the number. It happened by 8 kgs. Then at the end of 2.5 months, my friends started observing it. They started telling, wow, this is a great transformation. And slowly it continued. I was almost losing 800 grams per week with this consistency. And the journey started motivating me more. So instead of having a feeling that I am missing a packet of mixture, I'm missing a packet of Kara Save, I'm missing a packet of chips, my journey made my mind calculate things the other way around. Now, this is a bowl of Kara Save, which I used to have it like in two gulps. I started, instead of looking at that Kara Save, I started looking at it as 400 calories. 400 calories is equal to 40 minutes of running on a treadmill at 6.5 kilometers per hour at an inclination of 5 degrees. So 40 minutes of my efforts are going to be burnt in eating this for 2 minutes. So my mind found another way to get the joy. The joy that was earlier taken by food is now taken by doing the exercise. So I am not denying my mind of happiness. I am not
Beauty.
denying my mind of or my heart of any joy. I am just replacing what a joyous thing is. In place of having food, the joyous thing was replaced by having healthy food, having food with less oil, and having, gaining a better physique, gaining better confidence over myself. And it is this journey that still motivates me. In fact, what's more important is in between, I entered a plateau zone typical to weight loss. That is the anatomy of everyone. Because if I still continue to lose 800 grams per day, sooner, mathematically speaking, there will become a day when I will go less than zero, which is not possible, right? So there will come a there will come a weight after which it will stagnate, and I'm still yet to go to the healthiest weight that someone should be for my height. But I will say that this journey is still, it has mentored me, it has molded me in such a fashion that now I don't look food as just something that is tasty for my taste buds. It has changed the purpose of eating food. It has changed the way in which I eat food. Let me put it very shortly. My English teacher taught me when I was in class 5 that eat food to live, don't live to eat food.
Beauty.
I realized this statement after like 22 years of doing my fifth standard, once I started practicing and living by the ideal that she had taught me back then. Thankfully, recalling my teacher at this time. And hopefully, next year by this time, I will be able to speak about another transformation as far as my physique is concerned. But
That's
I hope
and
this
we are
brief
looking
summary
forward. Yeah.
was,
Beautiful. It was very inspiring. Very, very
Very,
yes,
very
sir.
inspiring.
inspiring.
Very inspiring. So Suresh,
There's a
30
lot
seconds
of
to you
wisdom.
or a minute to you. Yeah,
No, I
for you to
think
wrap up.
there's a lot of wisdom that we have heard today. It's not just experience alone, right? So there's so much that we can take. Um, we have very small time for us to conclude. I just want to
Thank
share
you.
a Tamil proverb, right? So what we say, "Adimel adiva irthal, ammiyum nagarum." I think one of your the experience that you have shared is connecting to that the old saying. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. I think you've heard a lot from us, very wiseful experience and wisdoms that we are carrying through this a Kuti story, along with that debate on, discussion on each of our experiences. We'll continue our series. You'll get to hear more from us regularly now going forward.